Hello and welcome to News 9 Facebook Live with me, Adarsh Vepachedu. Now, as you know it, the number of coronavirus cases across the country and the world for that matter are only on the rise. And along with that, the race to find a vaccine is also certainly picking up. In what can be termed India's moment in this race to find a vaccine, Covaxin has become the country's first COVID-19 vaccine to secure regulatory approval from the Drug Controller General of India to advance its COVID-19 vaccine candidate into human trials. So that is exactly what we'll be discussing about today, and in this brief interaction I'll be telling you everything you need to know about Covaxin, and we'll also be roping in an expert, a pulmonologist, who will be sharing his thoughts on what could Covaxin really mean for the entire country. So let us try and understand whether Covaxin is really indeed India's answer to COVID-19. And that's the first set of information that will flash right next to me. It certainly is India's first COVID-19 vaccine candidate. And for those of you who may not be aware, it is developed by Bharat Biotech, located in Hyderabad. And it was developed in collaboration with the ICMR and the National Institute of Virology. Now, the human clinical trials for Covaxin are all set to begin in the month of July. We're talking about the phase 1 and phase 2 of clinical trials. Now, permission for the same has been received from the Drug Controller General of India, the Ministry of Health and Family Welfare as well. So after that permission has been given, now Covaxin is all set for the clinical trials that will begin in the month of July. So that brings us to another question. How was Covaxin developed? So let us try and understand as to how Covaxin was developed. It was in the month of May when the National Institute of Virology, in fact, isolated and transferred a strain of the virus from asymptomatic COVID-19 patient, and they transferred this strain that they gathered to Bharat Biotech in Hyderabad. Now, eventually they developed an inactivated vaccine, which essentially uses a dead virus to kill the coronavirus inside of you. I'll tell you in detail as to how it works. So after they developed an inactivated vaccine, they eventually tested it on animals to test and understand the overall safety of Covaxin. So how does Covaxin work? As I was just telling you, it comes under the inactivated vaccine type. Under this type, you essentially have dead virus that is served to the immune system in the form of a vaccine. Now, this dead virus almost mimics the real one, the alive one, and it prompts an antibody response to fight the virus. Now, because it is a dead virus, it cannot cause any kind of a damage or harm to you, or you will not get infected by coronavirus, but your immune system begins to think that there is coronavirus inside of you, and hence it starts to build those antibodies that can fight or that can ward off coronavirus inside of you. So inactivated vaccine, looking at the past itself, has had better safety record. So at this point in time, that's the information, that's what we know about Covaxin, and we'll only know more about it once you have the phase 1 and phase 2 trials that will get underway starting the month of July. So let us now rope in our expert. We have with us Dr. Sathya Rana, who happens to be a pulmonologist. And many thanks, Dr. Sathya. I hope my voice is clear to you, first of all. Dr. Sathya, if my voice is coming through to you. In fact, we'll be discussing about what Covaxin's approval really means for India and how big a step is it when it comes to fighting coronavirus. Yes, there are a few other vaccines from across the world that are doing quite well at this point in time, that are ahead in the race. But yes, it is certainly a milestone that India has achieved at this point in time. So, Dr. Sathya, if my voice is coming through to you.
Yes, very clear.
Many thanks for joining us, Dr. Sathya Rana. My first question to you is, what does Covaxin's approval mean for India?
Only means that it is a laudable effort by Bharat Biotech. One needs to appreciate them if they come out with the vaccine, say in the next year or so, or even if the inactivated vaccine doesn't pay the expected results, even then they need to be appreciated for this effort.
Yes, indeed. So that again brings us to another very pertinent question. It's all about how long will it take? So my next question surrounds that, as to how many months or years could it take for the vaccine to really reach the common man on the ground? And also a follow-up question on that is as to how and to what extent can we expect the regulatory process speeding up to ensure that a vaccine is really out there?
So if we look at this particular question, there are two things here.
Okay.
What is the public expectation or medical field expectation of vaccine? What is the realistic and safe way of getting a vaccine done? Developing a vaccine. So there has to be no compromises with respect to safety when it comes to these vaccines.
Right.
Inactivated vaccine, as you mentioned, is lot more safer because the vaccine is either inactivated by phenol or by heat or any other method. But when we look into 1942, the smallpox vaccine led to 6 deaths. 1950, the infamous Cutler incident, where the polio vaccine was not adequately inactivated, and that led to 164 cases of paralysis and 10 deaths eventually. History, if you keep looking, 1943 there were deaths secondary to yellow fever vaccine. As late as 1970 there were disasters when Haemophilus influenza B vaccine got inadvertently mixed up with some other vaccine. So basically you cannot wish away the safety. You need to give a lot of time for the vaccine to be tested. Pre-beta or pre-clinical studies have been done, basis which the DCGI has given go ahead. Phase 2 will tell how will healthy volunteers tolerate, what is the dose that is required to generate antibodies. Phase 3 will be much more critical.
All right.
It will talk about what is the efficacy or efficiency in common words. What is the efficiency of this in generating adequate protective autoantibodies or antibodies against the virus.
So doctor, again we were talking about what can an inactivated vaccine really do. You spoke about how history has been a lesson for humanity as to how we haven't dealt with inactivated vaccines so well in the past, and that has led to a few deaths. But there is also another report that is doing the rounds that claims that inactivated vaccine has a better track record. If it is really so, how is it that it has a better track record? And again, once if the vaccine is ready and it comes down to the common man, what are the kind of possible side effects are we talking about?
So if we look at inactivated vaccine itself, inadequately inactivated vaccine was the polio vaccine, which caused a very infamous Cutler incident. Therefore, that is one part of it. Second, our immune system should recognize this inactivated virus particle. There are certain breakpoints and domains in the genome of the virus which are very critical to be noticed by our immune system. Then, is inactivated vaccine, itself, the virus itself capable of stimulating our own immune system to develop adequate number of antibodies? So there are a lot of uncertainties than certainties. Therefore, I feel this is a very good beginning. We need to appreciate, but we need to be cautiously optimistic.
Cautiously optimistic. I like how you put it right out there. So another factor that really weighs in is as to how expensive or inexpensive could an inactivated vaccine be. So in this particular case, suppose if Covaxin passes through all the clinical trials, so what is the kind of cost are we looking at, and how accessible will it be to the common man?
Sure. Look, AstraZeneca is coming out with a vaccine. Moderna is coming out with a vaccine.
Yes.
AstraZeneca told me that their vaccine will be priced at very nominal thing. They keep telling that the pandemic is not the time to look at profit and margin. It is about what do you want to do for the humanity and society at large.
Okay.
Even Gilead has given the patent for remdesivir to Cipla,
Yes, it
totally free of cost. I don't think anybody is looking at money. I'm sure the vaccine is going to be within the reach of the common man.
Right. That's indeed warming news. And my last question to you would be, what is Bharat Biotech's proficiency in creating vaccines? What is the kind of history they have, and is it really confidence inspiring to you as a pulmonologist? Along with that, you could also tag some of your closing remarks as to how should one really take Covaxin. You've spoken about how we must be optimistically cautious, or in a sense, apologies, cautiously optimistic, but is there any bottom line that you'd like to share with us?
Sure. Bharat Biotech have developed a lot of vaccines. They have not kind of invented and come out with it, did clinical trials, and then they've just got the patent and produced lots of rabies, Japanese encephalitis, hepatitis B, so many other vaccines, polio, many other things.
Right.
So the track record seems to be good, but there is absolutely no role for complacency. Just because I have done so many good things, I cannot be, kind of given a certificate of proficiency. I need to prove what I am, and that is the same philosophy that will be applied to Bharat Biotech and their vaccine mainly. So basically, the pre-beta trial, there are a number of incidents when DCGI or FDA have looked at and said these points were not highlighted when the drug came out. There are many of the molecules, drugs in non-COVID scenario, where they have been taken off the market after 6 years, 7 years of clinical use. That is a lesson learned, and let us hope and pray that the vaccine is on the way. It may take a year. I feel that even the fourth estate, that is the press, should not press for earlier release of this vaccine. Let Bharat Biotech take its own time, but come out with something that is very safe.
Right. Right. Many thanks indeed, Dr. Sathya Rana. That was Dr. Sathya Rana, a pulmonologist, really summing it up for us as to where we stand when it comes to a vaccine right here from India. We were speaking about Covaxin, and yes, it is an Indian-made vaccine, and it is getting developed at this point in time. It has got its permission for clinical trials as well. But yes, at this point in time, we need to be cautiously optimistic, and one only hopes that they take their time, but yes, quickly go through the phase of clinical trials, and one can only hope that we have a vaccine at our hand, and why not made in India itself. So yes, that's been my brief interaction with you. In case if you feel that Covaxin does indeed have a future, and if you feel very optimistic about it, make sure you let us know about it in the comment section below, and do not forget to like, share and subscribe to News 9 on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter and Instagram. This is Adarsh Vepachedu signing off.